Hi there guys, this is Matt Tomato here, hope you're all well. Welcome back to another Europa Universalis IV video. Today I'm going to be talking to you about what is possibly one of the luckiest games I have ever had. So I did a leisurely, well not leisurely, but a casual, non-recorded gameplay as England. And I thought that, I find England to be quite a tough start. Obviously you're trying to get the Union over France or whatnot, but in my case I did something a little bit different. But things just panned out, and eventually this became one of the luckiest games I've ever played as EU4. Now you can see I've got a lot of saves over here, and I'm going to be going through some of them just to show you the sort of the progress of what I've done and how this has been gone about. So the first step, obviously, is to deal with Baguette. And if you haven't seen my Humiliate Rival video yet, you will want to go and check that out, because you will know, if you have seen it, that I've gone in here and I've attacked France, and I've actually declared the war myself, and I've not gone for the surrender of Maine. I've instead gone for the conquest, or the reconquest rather, where I've gone for the reconquest of Armagnac, and I've gone in there and I've humiliated them, and I've basically sapped all their prestige, and I've destroyed them. They've gone bankrupt. And a whole lot of hell has broken loose in the French lands is basically what's happened. And you can see here that by 1459 I've gone in and I've basically destroyed the French. The French are not a threat anymore. They're still bankrupt. They've been attacked by the Burgundians. They've got their own rebels. And I've got a nice collection of allies here, including Austria, Castile and Portugal. And I'm also working over in the Irish miners over here to get some diplo vassalization and annexation, because obviously the aggressive expansion in France is going to be pretty high. So I've gone in here and I've gone and started some diplomatic relations with some of the Irish miners. In this instance, I've gone with Kildare. But obviously with Desmond and Tyrone increasing in size, Ulster over here, there might be some potential for some more diplo vassalization and annexation. And I've also taken a little bit of Scotland just to spread out some of the expansion here. Now in this particular piece you can see that I've united my lands here. I've attacked Provence. France still has a bunch of rebels over here. Burgundy has taken some land as well. So the French are basically not a threat anymore. And we can see here that by 1462 I've got a good hold in France. I can push eastwards very, very easily from here. And at this point I'm starting to eclipse, or rather become too strong for Burgundy as well. And I still have my allies, I still have my vassal here, and I've still got everything in check, and everything is going rather nicely. So by 1478, this is where shit starts to get real, and this is where my luck really starts to pan out. Now you can see here that the Burgundian inheritance event has fired. The King of Burgundy has died, and Castile over here, who is my ally, has managed to grab a good chunk of land over here. So Brabant, Flanders, Holland has all gone over to Castile. The French have got a little bit of land. They've still not really got any, they've got a couple of friends, but you can see that Württemberg and the Papal State, well the Papal State has actually lost Urbino and Romagna over here, and Württemberg is one of the tiny little nations in the HRE, so their allies are not very significant. The huge thing that's happened here though, is that Castile might have taken this land, but it's fallen into a personal union. It is a junior partner in a personal union under England. I actually got the PU over Castile. Their heir died, and then their king basically died 6 months later, and I got the personal union over Castile. And Aragon over here decided not to contest it, so I basically got a free PU over Castile. Now, of course, the Liberty Desire, because they're so big, is a little bit iffy. You know, it's a little bit high. But you can see here that 36.5% is enough for Castile to join in wars that I might declare. If their Liberty Desire is below 50%, they will actively help me in wars. So basically, as long as I can keep that Liberty Desire low, this is going to be brilliant. So Castile, it's a pile of manpower. They've just been able to grab, they've just got some free land over in sort of the Netherlands area over here. And pretty much, this is brilliant. This is fantastic. I've gone ahead and done some additional work over here where I've annexed Kildare. I've also grabbed Ulster through pure conquest. And you can see that also I've managed to get the vassalization of Scotland. Now, again, I did that through war. I picked up the mission for subjugate Scotland, And so I got the automatic mission, so I got the CB to vassalize them, trash them up, and vassalize them. So you can see I've got a vassal, I've got the PU over Castile, I still have my ally Austria and Portugal. Austria is still pretty damn strong, it has Hungary and a couple of other allies. It is no longer the Emperor at this point though, I don't think. No, it's not. No, it's no longer the Emperor at this point, but it's still particularly strong, and it has Hungary as a strong friend. The Ottomans are doing quite slowly as well. This is one other thing to note. The Byzantium still exists over here. There's a little bit of Byzantium that still exists, so they're actually moving a little bit slower than what they normally would. Also, Trebizond over here, Karakanulu is expanding, the Mamluks still hold a good lump of territory over this way. So the Ottomans are actually being quite slow with expanding, which is relatively interesting. Muscovy is still doing its normal job over here. It's not really doing anything much different. It's just ploughing into Novgorod, causing them to have some rebel problems, and that sort of jazz. Again, you can see over here that we're pushing further east, into France. We've taken a couple more provinces here, and we're moving ever closer to basically just encircling Paris and causing some hell there. Not much has changed over here, other than Muscovy is moving in to attack Kazan and that sort of jazz. So by 1487, this is the say from 1487, things have changed a little bit more in that Aragon has decided it wants some French land and has decided to come in here and take some of the Mediterranean. So France by this point is so damn weak that it's easy pickings for anyone around here. Even Savoy declared a war against them at some point, and they took, did they take, I think they took a province over here. No, I don't think they did. Either that or, I can't remember what was going on here. I think Provence managed to move up here, or it was something crazy like that, and Provence managed to take some land. I still have the personal union over Castile, which is brilliant, and we're currently helping Austria in a fight over here in the HRE. We've been called in, and so we're going in there, which is rather nice. Byzantium still exists, which is hilarious. And also over here down in the Maghreb, things have been going rather interesting as well. That's a little bit more irrelevant to us at the moment. But you can see that Denmark is having some trouble, which is interesting. That will pan out in the future to be something rather nice, because obviously we might want to expand up here. And I'm starting to annex Scotland over here as well, which is nice. Now this particular point in 1508 is rather interesting, because as you can see, France is pretty much obliterated. I've left Paris there because obviously Paris is a lot of aggressive expansion. But what you can see is that the British Isles are being completely covered now. England occupies everything here, which is nice. So we've got no more threats or no more problems on our sort of British Isles. So at some point we'll be able to form the nation of Great Britain. But you can see that Aragon has ploughed in here and taken some more land. However, rather intriguingly, Aragon actually sent me an alliance request. So I'm now allied with Austria, Aragon, and Portugal. And so together with Castile, we have basically 4 nations here who occupy the entirety of the west of Europe. We're all friends, we're all good mates. And so this is a powerhouse waiting to unleash itself on something. And so this is the point where we start to think, well, hang on a minute. This is something that could go very, very far. Now you can see that the Ottomans have finally taken some of, completed the takeover of Byzantium, and Austria is growing bigger as well, which is rather nice and might be useful for us in the future. So we come to the year 1531, and this is where things really start to get very interesting. So what's happened is I've gone ahead and formed the nation of Great Britain, and completely eradicated any last provinces that France might have had. But you can see over here that Denmark has gone ahead and annexed Norway, or integrated Norway rather. Now what happens here is that because Denmark was a rival in the first place, and because now that Denmark has gone and integrated Norway, they now have this province here, which is obviously the Faroe Islands. So what I can do is I can declare war for the Faroe Islands, and I can take them, but because I'm declaring against the full line of Denmark, by the time I get to 1548 and I've concluded that war, what I've gone and done is I've actually nabbed a province over here in the Danish area, Nordjylland, and I've nabbed that province off of Denmark. Now what also I've done, as you can see here, is I've taken Iceland over this way, just for the sake of having a port that is closer to the New World. So I've sort of opened the way for colonization of the New World, which is relatively interesting. But what you can also see is I've released Norway, but Norway is not in the Union. So obviously Norway is sat here. It has a couple of friends, but it no longer has the protection of Denmark and Sweden. And so by nabbing this province over here, I've basically given myself the go-ahead to fabricate claims in Denmark, Sweden, more importantly in Norway. And so what happens is I can therefore expand into Scandinavia through genuine claims through fabrication using the diplomats. Now you might also notice Portugal has taken some strides over here in the Maghreb, but the other thing that you'll see is I've started the annexation of Castile. The problem is the liberty desire is a little bit high, so, you know, a little bit cranky, they're not really sure. They've also noticed that my overextension is pretty high because I've been nabbing pieces of land here. There's some border friction because they have all that land over there in sort of the modern-day Netherlands. You'll also notice, if I scroll over here, what is going on with Muscovy? Hang on. What's happening here? Well, basically what's happening is Muscovy is unable to deal with some rebels. And what's happening is these guys, their former vassals, are actually being released. And they're just sat here and they have their own alliances. They're their own independent nations. They're being released. You can also see Sapmi over here has been released as well, the nation of Sapmi. And they're all independent nations now. They're not vassals. They've not been integrated. Kazan has made a spawn back over here because it was initially eaten up by Muscovy. And so you can sort of think, well, hang on a minute. This is another massive and credible threat that is undergoing problems. And so you're thinking, well, that happened to France. Well, then again, we did that ourselves. But now the Muscovites are having the same issue. They're having the rebels. They went bankrupt. And so they're screwed. So the fact that I've taken a province here in Scandinavia, so the Kalmar Union is now not a threat because it's been broken. Muscovy is not a threat. I have a free hand to push my way across the north of Scandinavia over here. There's nothing to stop me. They can try and ally up perhaps with Poland or something like that. But even then, I've still got Castile under the PU. I've still got Aragon as my friend. I still have Austria, who is back as the emperor. And it's really interesting. Now, what I've also gone and done here is by the time 1566 comes around, you can see that I've taken a massive splodge of Norway over here. The Commonwealth has been formed, which is rather nice. I've not really interacted with them in any sort of way just yet. But you can see here that Muscovy is a wreck. It's an absolute mess. So what the heck has happened there? I don't quite know how on earth they managed to lose that territory to the rebels. But you can see here that Muscovy is a wreck. Now I have actually allied up with Sweden, but as you can see there is a bit of a tech gap here. I'm 13, 13, 13. Whereas Sweden is 12, 11, 11. They also have a regency council, so they can't do a lot. But the idea behind that is what happened is, now that Sweden is also independent, Denmark is free pickings. Allied with Utrecht. Yeah, fantastic. Well done. You have no defence up here in the north now. So Denmark is no longer a threat. Sweden, I've allied up with them, but basically there's nothing left of them. So, yes, they might be able to move forward into some Muscovite territory, but not if I backstab them. And you can see here by 1577, I've dissolved the alliance with Sweden, I've wrecked them, and I've gone ahead and absolutely smashed them apart. So that's another threat, or a potential threat, that could have developed into something completely eradicated. So you can see there's a degree of luck involved here. Now, obviously, I was the one who broke the Kalmar Union, but then you could say as well that Denmark just integrated Norway, and I took my chance and went in and smashed. So Denmark's mistake was actually to integrate Norway, which is something as Denmark you obviously want to be doing when you're playing a Denmark playthrough. You can also see that Muscovy is still struggling over here. There's some provinces here have been released for the Great Horde, and you can see that Astrakhan over here. That's an incredible Astrakhan, you have to admit. So Astrakhan is over here and is causing hell and is completely occupied almost all of Tabaristan over here. And what the hell? You never see an Astrakhan that big. That's ridiculous. What is going on? I'm still in the process of integrating Castile over here. You can see we're pretty damn close now. We're 70-75% of the way there. So that's pretty good. I still have my alliances in Austria, Aragon and Portugal. I managed to maintain those alliances despite the border friction here with Aragon. But then Aragon over here was quite interesting because they decided to rival the Ottomans. And what happened was they rivaled the Ottomans, and so did the Commonwealth. And so the Commonwealth and the Aragon decided to have a little bit of fun and basically attempt to remove kebab, which was interesting. Like, AI kebab not doing such a good job is pretty surprising. But what's happening over here is, first of all, they're dealing with an initial threat that is Hungary. So Commonwealth has gone in there and is smashing up Hungary just for lols. And you can see that I've plowed my way down here into sort of Finland. Sweden is pretty much nothing anymore. I've taken some more land off of Denmark. Bella Zero is doing pretty nicely. But what I've got here is I've actually got a royal marriage here and everything, because I've gone in and I've gone and vassalized Bella Zero. I've gone and Diplo vassalized, no attacks or anything like that. They're small enough, I'm big enough, I'm technologically advanced enough to basically be able to do that. And you can see over here that Muscovy is just a wreck. Even Nizhny Novgorod has been released. You know, that is how bad Muscovy fell apart. And this Astrakhan continues to grow over here, and it's really interesting to see. You can also see over here, though, that Serbia has been released. The Commonwealth did wage a war against the Ottomans, and Serbia has been released. So Kebab is actually in a bit of trouble. And that is almost never ever seen with the AI. Kebab AI is always winning. And yet there we are. We see nations being released. You can see that Achaia has been released over here. And even Epirus has been taken by Aragon. So you can see here that Aragon has gone in and attacked to help the Commonwealth. And the Ottomans are struggling. So it's amazing. I can't quite believe how this game has already been turning out. And it's absolutely ridiculous to think that all this is happening in just one game, and most of it is the AI that's doing it, apart from the fact that I was the one who did the humiliation on France, and I was the one who smashed up Denmark and paved the way to move forward over here. So, the integration of Castile continues. I think we've been rivaled by the Ottomans as well. The Ottomans decided to rival us, indeed they did, and so we've gone ahead and issued an embargo on the Ottomans there, so that we can basically just have another enemy for them to worry about. Obviously, they can see the expansion here that we're doing, and the Ottomans must be quaking in their boots. And now we can see that I've gone ahead and completed the integration of Castile, so Castile is now all mine. So, alongside Portugal and alongside Aragon, who are still our friends, we basically have entire control of the west coast over here. We still have our alliance with Austria, we still have our alliance with Aragon and Portugal, and you can now see that we are friends with the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth has decided that it wants to be friends with us now. So we have another epic power on our side. As we continue to push forward here, we can see that we're trashing things up over here. Bella Zero was actually occupied by the Ottomans because we decided to join in a fight against the Ottomans over here. So the Commonwealth declared a crusade war, and you can see what's going on with the Ottomans. Look at this. It's devastation for the Ottomans. Astrakhan is falling apart as well, which is a bit of a shame because that looked like fun. But the Ottomans have started to collapse, and the Commonwealth and Aragon, together with us, we've gone in there and done a little bit of help. We helped them out a little bit. We've gone in there and we've decided, you know what, we hate you, the Ottomans, so we're going to trash you up. And you can see here that the Commonwealth, by 1610, or 1616 rather, I should say, the Commonwealth has taken some land, Aragon has taken some land, Ragusa has grown, and yeah, more stuff is happening. Ryazan continues to grow. We continue to push over this way into this area over here in the east, and you can see that we have now also started to explore in the New World, and we've taken this opportunity to go and start colonizing. So we've gone and picked up Quebec over there, and we're going to start colonizing in the New World. Now this is where the luck continues to grow, because you can see here that obviously we've integrated Castile. Aragon over here, if we can view this at all, yes we can, has taken trade, religious, offensive, and has only just started taking exploration ideas. So the only colonizers are us, Aragon and Portugal. Portugal likes to go into the Caribbean, Aragon likes to go into South America, so we basically have free colonization of the North Americas. Amazing! It's utterly ridiculous how lucky that is that we managed to get that PU over Castile, and we've integrated them so that they have no provinces in the colonies anymore. The French are unable to colonize. Even the Norwegians or the Danes, who sometimes colonize, cannot do it anymore. It's absolutely brilliant how this has worked out, and so what I'll do is I'll skip ahead to 1656, which is the latest save that I have. And it's absolutely incredible how lucky this has turned out. Now, there was a twist as we entered 1656 over here. Firstly, I'll just show you the New World. We've actually got our colony over here. Ironically, I've called it New Portsmouth, and we started colonizing over this way. We can see some of the some of the minor nations. We can see what Aragon has been up to. You can see they've been colonising over here in Colombia. Portuguese, however, have not done a lot on this side, and they've actually gone ahead and been colonising Portuguese Mexico, whereas the Caribbean has actually been started to occupy by Aragon. And you're sort of thinking, well, that's a little bit odd, you know, usually the Portuguese like to go for the Caribbean, but no, that is not how this works. So we can see at the bottom of Africa here now, and we can see that the Portuguese have actually been working down here in the Ivory Coast trade node, which explains why their Caribbean influence is not so good. Once again, we can see that the Commonwealth has been trashing up the Ottomans, and even Constantinople is now technically Polish, so that's quite interesting. Hungary is being solely encircled. There's more rebels here in the Ottoman lands, and the Ottomans are being beaten back quite heavily here. And possibly by the end of the game, they might be completely eradicated. I don't know. Theodoro, nice and strong right there. But you'll see that we've pushed all the way into Muscovite lands now. It's now British Western Europe, and we're now moving over this way. We might actually be able to go over here and attack Chagatai or something. Check out this Ming, by the way. That's pretty brutal. That's quite interesting. Korea is quite big, and Delhi is also pretty huge. So that could be a bit of an obstacle in the future. One thing you'll notice that has changed, though, is that we have actually lost our alliance with the Commonwealth. They decided to break it, and they decided to rival me. So, stupid Commonwealth. But what we went and done is the Commonwealth also broke their alliance with Bohemia. So what we went and did was we went and allied up with Bohemia to get ourselves an ally in the region. Now, the Austrians at this point are no longer our friends. Austria tried to drag me into a war over this way with Milan. What we did was we went in and we basically decided not to. And so what happened was we declined the call to arms, so the alliance broke with Austria. And then what I did was basically I joined a subsequent war with Aragon to attack Milan, so Austria therefore became an enemy and was on the opposite side. So Austria is no longer a friend, long-time friend, who helped us out with France, helped us out with so much, decided that it wanted to drag me into a stupid war, and the Commonwealth took advantage of that. The Hungarians fell apart. So basically this is looking like a straight-up fight. The HRE is destroying itself, there's not going to be much left of that. But it's going to be a straight-up fight between the Commonwealth and us, basically in the middle. And Bohemia is going to get trapped in the middle and is going to have to pick a side at some point. But yeah, you can see how lucky this game eventually turned out to be. So I don't know whether this will carry on. I don't know what's going to happen here. The other thing to note before we finish is that I actually stayed Catholic for the entire game. Most Britons go Protestant, but I stayed Catholic, and the reason obviously I stayed Catholic was because I had the union over Castile, who was also Catholic, and I wanted to keep Austria as a friend for as long as possible, and they also decided to stay Catholic for a while. However, it sort of trans out, and eventually they reverted to Protestantism. So that was quite interesting, but once that alliance had dissolved, I didn't care. So also Aragon over here is Catholic, and I think Portugal is also still Catholic, so we wanted to keep our stronger friends kicking around for as long as possible. So there we go, one of the luckiest games I've ever played in EU4. I hope you've enjoyed this. Sorry it was a little bit long, but normally I would be showing you some of the gameplay, but I just wanted to show you some of the save points so that you can see just how bonkers it actually was. So thanks for watching, guys. See you next time for more Europa Universalis IV with myself, Matt Tomato. There'll be a playthrough coming out real soon once patch 1.23 is released as well, so stay tuned for that. See you later, guys.